All right, welcome back. This is our Hillbilly Shipwright series, and we are on our second build. And this is going to be part 2 of our Norwegian Sailing Pram here by Model Shipways, and it's a 1/12 scale kit. In our last video, we made up our stern transom and our bow transom there and attached the knees to them and did the beveling to accept the planking, and we made up our building board. And I did go ahead and do the addition of putting in those wooden blocks, which are not included in the instructions. I mean, basically you could say they're included in the kit because we used some of the kit scraps to actually make those little blocks. But the whole point behind those is to keep these items from shifting on us. That way everything remains true when we get ready to do our planking. I just think it's a good idea to not have to chase those transoms around when we're trying to actually glue it together. So, so I added those little blocks in. So we're going to be picking up, let's see, at step 6, the keel plank. All right, so let's jump down to the bench and see what we're going to be doing here. Okay, so we're on 6, the keel plank. It says carefully remove the central keel plank from its sheet and clear the slot in it for the dagger board case. Sand the char from the edges. Don't worry about the ends for now. The plank is slightly over length. This is the first item that will require bending. There are several methods of bending wood, and they will go on to tell us about bending wood here. I think we're going to use the same method that we used before. To use moisture, soak the plank in hot water for several minutes, then bend it around a curved form of some kind and allow it to dry out thoroughly. In its bent shape, you need to overbend the piece as it will tend to spring back somewhat after it is dry. So this is going to be the method that we use to bend it and let it dry. So you're going to need a container for water. And then we're going to need our part. Now, I've already taken the, what do we call it here? The plank, sorry. I dropped it. The keel plank. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm calling it the right thing. So this is our keel plank. And we are going to have to bend it to get it to conform to the bottom of our pram here. As you can see, it being the center, the keel head is going to have to be bent quite a lot, actually. And if we look at it from the side, if I can get it, we're kind of going after that. So I am going to use our form here, or our building board here, and the transoms, both the bow and the stern transoms there, to help us get that shape there. So what you need is some warm water in a container, and we can soak this. Once you've got all that collected, the very first thing we need to do is check to make sure that the slot in the center of our keel plank is open for our dagger board. So I went ahead and popped that out of the, well, I didn't pop it, I cut it. You don't want to push these out, you want to cut those out so that they don't splinter. So I removed the dagger board just to check and make sure that we have enough clearance there. And I think mainly what they're referring to is, since this is laser cut, sometimes the cut doesn't go all the way through, and If the piece is still in there, then you need to cut it free and make sure that that is clear. And then the next thing is to sand. As soon as I find my sanding stick. There we go. I'm using emery board here, and there are different emery boards out there. I also got this cheap one right here from Wally World. It seems to do a good job too. 2 different grits on it there, just to clean up the char on the edge. Now, I already know that this boat is going to be painted completely, so I'm not too worried about the char. I do want to make sure, though, that everything is nice and square and true. Now, you can use these emery boards, or you can use modeling sanding sticks, and that's fine. Whatever you want to use. The kit does come with the sandpaper, in case you want to use that. But I just found it easier to use stuff that I'm used to using. We do want to pay attention to those little tabs that are going to be left once we cut these free of the planks or boards that they come in. And just make sure that everything is, edges are all sanded down. Now, I don't worry too much about the outside at this point, but I do want to just give it a real light sanding here on the inside. And we'll do this again after we use water. What's going to happen, of course, is when it soaks up the water, the fibers are going to expand, and then it'll get rough. And then we'll need to smooth that out once the plank is dry. And before we install it, because it's going to be hard to get down in there and sand everything. Now, we are building this boat upside down, so just like we did on the dory. And if you haven't seen the dory, then you might be interested in seeing that. So we're going to give this plank a soak for about 10-15 minutes. Just enough for this bass wood to soak up enough water so that it'll be pliable. And then we will work on putting it in place here so that it can dry in a bowed state. And hopefully we'll be able to get it to maintain that state. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in some warm water. And you can use a tube to do that, or you can use a pan, you know, just something large enough to hold the part. And then let it soak. Okay, so we are about ready to bend our keel plank. So what I've done is I have pre-positioned me a rubber band on the bow transom here. Now my rubber band was a little bit too long, so I just kind of wrapped it around a wooden block here to provide me more tension so that I can hold the end of it down to the bow transom. And then on the stern transom, I did put a couple of pieces of painter's tape here to kind of hold that into place. It can move up if it needs to, but it's not going to tilt up out of there because this rear bracket here that holds it to the build board is not glued in, and we don't want to glue that in like the front one is glued in. So with that, we do have our rubber band in place as well, getting ready to secure the end of our keel plank. So there we go. We're all ready to go, I think. So now let me grab the plank real quick. And of course it is going to be quite wet. I'm just going to dab it off here. We don't need all that excess water. There we go. Now we're going to set our keel plank into place there. I'm going to center it up on the knee, I think. I'm just giving it ever so much of a slight overhang. That way we got a little bit to sand. And then we're going to be bringing it down like so. Now they do tell us to overbend it. I don't know if I can use these blocks. I may have to get something a little bit smaller because I believe these are going to raise it up to, no, that's good. That's good. So I am blocking it up a little bit to overbend it. I just want to get it in the center back here. Get our rubber band up over the, I don't want it down on the sides. You don't want to get it down on the sides of the plank there. Just want it to be like so. If we're putting too much force on the plank on the corners, we'll be shaping the corners down, and we don't really want it to go that way. All right, so I think we're in good shape. Now don't worry about the knee not touching. That's fine for now. Because we do have it overbent. You can see there. We're going to let it dry completely. And while that is drying, we can work on our other two planks here. We do have one that goes on either side of our keel plank. So we'll just set this aside so that it can dry. So just for those of you that are joining us with this part of the build and you haven't seen the first part, our planks do come laser cut for us here. So this is the bottom plank. This is a spare keel plank. And we use the primary one to that we're bending right now, as a matter of fact. So now what I've done is I have the left and right, or the port and starboard bottom planks here, and we have gone ahead and on the inside curve here, I've already cleaned up all the char and took off those little nubs where it attaches it to the what do you call it? The fret, the piece of wood that it's in, the fret. So when it comes to the outside, we really want to leave this char, but we do need to clean up these little nubs that are left after cutting it free. We don't want that in our way, so we'll clean that. This one as well. Just like so. And now we can prepare this edge. So the idea here, just like when we sanded the bevels onto our transoms, we're going to be sanding from this line here where they've already indicated for us, down across through here, leaving just a thin line of char along the edge of this plank. So we're, in essence, putting a bevel in. So that bevel will go in all the way down the plank. So in order to do that, we're going to have to support this so that we can get a nice bevel going. Otherwise, I mean, when you're sanding with your finger, it's going to push away in spots, and you're not going to get a good bevel. So we do want a good bevel there, because another plank is going to overlap it. So we need to get that done first. So I think the best way to do that, we need to support it so it doesn't bow away from us. And you can do this in sections. You don't have to do it necessarily in one big go, although that would be easier. So I'm going to use a board here, a straight edge of a sort to strengthen that, so that we are not bending it away from us. I'm sure there's 10,000 ways to do this. This just happens to be mine. All right, so like so. And now we can take our sanding stick and we can start working our bevel. So it's a relatively shallow bevel. So we just want to bevel down to, like I said before, down to this line, and leave a slight line of the charred edge right along the bottom edge there. So I am going to keep sanding this until I get there. And the only way you can really tell your edge is by looking at the end of it, and you can see where we've started. Get the fuzzies off so you can see it, where we've started that bevel. So we want that line and that fine line of char on the bottom to meet at the same time. So we need to adjust our angle and sand a bevel into it. So I have both the left and right bottom planks here with the bevels sanded into them. Now one is darker wood than the other, but they're both supposed to be basswood. Yeah, I'm having trouble talking. But the next part is that they want us to clean up the char edge that we left right there on the very, very edge. I don't know why, but I don't think you're going to see it. But we're going to do what they tell us to do. We're going to clean these up. And then we're going to look at bending these, which, oh, by the way, we still have our keel plank, which is the center bottom plank. It is still drying right now. So we can't really do anything with these until it is completely dry. So we can go ahead and clean these up while we're waiting. Okay, so now that this is fully dried, this is our keel plank. we can go ahead and remove it. Pop the rubber band. Whoa. Yeah, that did pop up, didn't it? Let's go ahead and remove these. One fell off, two fell off. There we go. Get those out of the way there. And well, we're not in bad shape at all. I think that's going to work out pretty good for us there. All right, we can go ahead and remove this. Looks to be in pretty good shape. Now we have our other two bottom planks, our left and right bottom planks. Those are soaking at the moment so that we can bend those into place. But in the meantime, I'm going to take a fine sanding stick here and I'm going to clean this up. So that from being immersed into the water and anything from the manufacturing process that may have left little whiskers sticking up, we can just go ahead and sand these off. That way they don't show up in our finish. Easier to do it now than it would be to do after the boat is complete. And we may pass back over it again later after we get the entire hull built before we add our paint, just to make sure that we're going to give the best possible opportunity for the finish to come out nice and smooth. And once we get this done, just going to slightly go down the edge there to kind of clean up any of those little fuzzies that we've got going over the edge. Don't really want to sand the edge, I just want to clean it up. Inside and out. It's just really light pass there. Kind of get rid of anything that remains. Probably should do the edge there too a little bit. Here we are getting a little bit off of it, and that's okay. That's fine. So we can set this aside. Now, I don't think they fully expect this to remain exact. If they do, with me building it, they boy is somebody going to be surprised. But probably me. But it's a nice fit, so we can work with that. All right, so we're going to have to give just a few more minutes there for our left and right bottom planks, and then we're going to go ahead and put those on the build board and let them dry. Okay, we are ready to put on the other two bottom planks, and I want to make sure that I got some rubber bands handy here and spacer blocks for getting this that extra little bow that we're going to need there to help when it dries. You know, wood has memory and it wants to spring back, and we want to try to eliminate as much of that as possible. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do both these at the same time. We're going to try. I'm just going to dab off all the excess water here. This is basswood, so it soaks up water pretty quick. 10 or 15 minutes in the water and you're pretty much there. So before I stick that on there, we'll let you know that I did put a little tick mark just right there. Now that's center of our knee and our front transom there, our bow transom. Because these pieces actually are supposed to meet at a point right there on the bow. So we kind of need a little tick mark there. Showing us exactly where it is. As long as I don't move it and it stays put, we'll be okay. So we're supposed to come over right there. I'm kind of wondering if blocking it at this point is a good idea or come back and block it later. I think I'll block it now. Or try to. That is going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for us. I may forego that. I may just forgo that. I mean, I've got time to think about it here for a minute. I may have to cut some smaller ones. Got to make sure that these planks are engaged right in the notch of our billboard there, both sides. I'm not sure that this other rubber band here is really necessary. Let's see how we do on the stern transom here. If we have enough tension to hold them down without them moving, which it appears we probably do. We could probably do away with this rubber band here. Get my fingers back in here. This is one of those occasions where a third arm would be nice. You might walk a little funny and lopsided with 3 arms, but at any rate, you might be pretty good at modeling. I just need to make sure that I got enough sticking out here on our bow transom. I mean, these are not their final position, but getting them to dry as close to their final position as possible is preferable at any rate. Maybe I can just adjust that in a minute. I do want to try to put some extra bow into it by blocking it. Blocking it up in more of an arch. Just make sure that we may have to put something there. We don't want these to twist on us. And we do want them to stay right on the edge of our blocks and our blocks up against that little shoulder. And we have slipped up. So I need to pull it back down here. There we go. Maybe by sticking it in there and just pulling it to the rear will keep me from pulling the plank to the rear. And now I'm off my mark. Really could use that third arm right about now, genetics. Okay. Let me go ahead and get this one in. Yeah. Get them slid over where they need to go. So I think we need to put a little piece of wood right across here, kind of spanning both these. I don't know if you can tell. See how that kind of twists a bit? We don't want that twist in there. That'll do. Now all I gotta do is get it in there without upsetting everything else. Just like so. Now we can make any adjustments we need to. Am I being a little bit too precise? Probably. But at any rate, we do have them in there and they are set. And they should look equal. All right, so we got our extra bow going on. We don't have any twist here, so we're good there. I think we're fine up front. All right, so now we need to leave this overnight and let these two planks dry. And that's fine. We don't need to touch this anymore. Because if we do, we'll probably mess it up. So let's not do that. So we'll go ahead and set this aside for now. So those are our bottom planks. Those are done. Next up is the garboard plank. Now while everything is drying there for our bottom planks, we can go ahead and prep our garboard planks. So it's pretty easy to tell where the zoom in there. There we go. Garboard plank. This is the bow end, of course, and this is the stern end. We'll get these cut loose. Now if you notice, we have that same line going on. Where the garboard planks are gonna have to be gotta put that bevel in. Just like we did on the bottom planks, we're going to have to put it in on the garboard planks as well. So we're going to do the exact same process here where we find our sanding stick. I'll clean off these attachment nubs here. Just like so. We'll also clean off the nubs on the other side. So we're going to leave the char on the side that we're going to bevel, just like we did before. And we're going to remove the char. Kind of square this a little bit on the opposite edge. I almost said side, but I don't know that that's a side. It's, well, I mean, it can be, but I think edge is a better description. So we're just removing the char. I don't want to change the dimensions. I'm sure we're probably going to have to do some of that when we go to fit these. But we got a little extra work to do on these. So after we get this done, we're going to do this bevel. So I will go ahead and do the exact same thing that I did before on the bevel. Using my stiffening board here. That way I'm not fighting the board wanting to bow away from me, or the plank bowing away from me. And then I found it easiest, I can set it down and hold it with my hand there, just like so, and get this angle from our char line to our edge, that line right there, parallel to my mat. And then I can take my missing sanding stick, in this case an emery cloth, or emery board I should say, and I can just hold it there, and it helps me get my angle really close to where it needs to be. As you can see, we've already cut quite a bit off here. So we are well on our way to our actual bevel. It doesn't take a whole lot. So I'm going to bevel these two, and then we have another step to take care of on these before these will be ready to be soaked and formed and installed. So I'm going to go ahead and do our bevels, and then we'll come back to these. So I have our garboard planks done. Well, they're not done. Our beveling is done anyway. So I've got them beveled, both of them. They look good, as far as I can tell. So now we're just prepping these right now, so we'll be ready for installing them. When they talk about the garboard planks here in the instructions, they tell us to remove the garboard planks from, prepare the beveled as you did before for the bottom planks. Yes, we already know that. We did that. There is one more step needed before bending them. You will need to cut a small gain on the inside face along the opposite edge of the bevel. Did I say bevel? Bevel. If you remember, you cut the gains on the inside of the dory planks on a rolling bevel. Okay. However, the gains on this boat are different. Each is a sloping rabbet, rebate or recess, cut along the last scale foot or so at each end of the plank. This gain is a scale inch wide. You can measure this using the scale ruler on page 7. Mark the distance on the edge of a paper strip, and then you transfer it to the plank. So I see what they're talking about here. This is the opposite edge and opposite side of the bevel that we just sanded in. And we need to do this fore and aft on each of our garboard planks. So if you see here in the drawing, that allows when the board terminates at both the bow and the stern there, we have this locking lapped in look there. So that's the idea. They say make the deep end of the rabbet no more than about 1/3 the thickness of the plank. At the transom, the planks fit as shown here below. Okay, so about 1/3 of the thickness, and that's not very thick to begin with, so was it about 1 millimeter? Yeah, it's about 1 millimeter thick. So that's what we're going for. When they were talking about a scale inch, yeah, scale inch right here, gain is scale inch, and they were talking about page 7. So if we go to page 7, 8-7, this is the ruler that they're talking about. Now, I can go ahead and tell you right now that their inch is not exactly an inch. But that's okay, because right here circled it tells us that 1 inch equals 1 foot. So we want to make our rabbet 1 foot long, which is in 1/12 scale is 1 inch. So that rabbet is going to be 1 inch long. Okay, that's first. Matter of fact, let us just go ahead and mark that while we're here. So we're going to mark that. Don't want to lose my mark. Making sure that we're marking the opposite edge of our bevel. All right. Same thing on the opposite. Of course, we're going to have a little bit of overhang there. So I'm going to add about 1/8 of an inch to it, because we're going to lose about 1/8 of an inch when we cut the excess off at the stern transom there. So I'm going to make that a little bit longer there. So we'll go ahead and mark the other one too, because you want to do it all while you're thinking about it. So right there, and about 1 1/8 inches here, allowing for some waste there. Okay. Now, it needs to be a 1 inch scale 1 inch wide. Yeah, that's right. So if you remember, which you probably don't, so I'm going to show you. It's all right. I remembered I read it somewhere, but I had to go back and reread this whole page here to figure it out. In step 7, when we were doing the bottom planks, there are laser etched lines 1 inch in from the outer edges. You will need to bevel the edges. So that's that 1 scale inch, which comes out to be, that's the width right here of this, where we beveled. So it's about 1 millimeter. So that's what we're talking about there. We need to do the inset at 1 millimeter. And yes, I know it is a curved piece of wood. I'm messing up there for some reason. Okay, so that one's marked out. We have our stop point and we have our length. So I'm going to go ahead and mark all these and double check and make sure that I am on the correct side. We have to be on the side opposite of the bevel. that would be bad if we mess this up, because we don't have any extra garbered planks there. All right, so we're going to do one so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to line up on my line there. going to take my craft knife here. I'm going to be as careful as I can to not cut all the way through the plank or my finger. So I want it to end right there. This is our edge. I'm only supposed to go down about 1/3 of the thickness of the plank. And it is a bevel, so we're going to take a chisel and I'm going to very carefully try to do this on camera. If I can get lined up. Start our bevel. I mean, not bevel, but our rabbet. Don't mean to confuse confuse anybody more than I'm confused. I'm being careful not to cut too deeply on my first pass here. I'm not real sure about how the grain runs. As you can imagine, this is a little bit more difficult on camera. Because I have to keep my head out of the way. So we've started it. You can see right there. So now I need to refine it so that it looks like a bevel. And you could do that probably with a file. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm half tempted to grab the file. So this is tedious. All right, let's grab a square file here. So on my square file, I've got a flat edge that is not supposed to cut. So I need to elevate my workpiece here, like so. I'll just use my sanding block for that. So I've already got an edge started. Although I've left a little sliver there. Like so. Okay. So I'm going to take my file. I'm going to lay it in there. Get it started good enough here. Don't know if I'm doing anything with the file or not. It is soft wood. You do want to be careful that you don't split it. That's why I'm making sure that we've got something on the back side there to keep us nice and firm. That's not working too good. Now this doesn't have this is a square file. Maybe it's a little bit more aggressive. So the idea here is that we will have that fore and aft lap in kind of thing going there. We got it going our way now. Big thing is getting it started. I do need to check. So I've got about half. So I need to figure out a good way to do this, because I've got 3 more to do. Got to keep it supported or bad things will happen. It's not very deep. So the idea there is when it gets up onto the plank, it'll get a funny little overlap there. So I have lost my 1 inch. Where am I at? I filed it away. I better put it over here. That way I know where it's at, so I don't file it off again. About, okay, about. Keeping it square, flat to the piece. There we go, that's all it needs. That's all it needs. Yeah. So I need to trim it up a little bit here because I'm not quite on my line. That's because the files aren't true square. Which, as you can imagine, causes a little bit of a problem there. You You want a sharp edge. There we go. Okay, so I've got to do that 3 more times. So while we are cutting those little rabbets on our garboard plank, we can start our glue up. So first things first, I'm going to remove our blocks here, like so. Okay. So here's the thing. Now these are perfectly dry now. I'll let them dry overnight, so we're in good shape there. So we need just enough sticking out on the bow transom there, that when we go to clean everything up, we don't have any char left on it there. So it looks all right. It looks good. Okay, gonna need some glue. Something to put the glue on. Not much, just a little bit. And not much is going to hold these 2 strips right on the end. I do need to make sure though that we get it lined up on our little index line that's setting right there. And we're all the way up against the slot here. I want to be all the way up there. That's good. That's good. Just like so. Double check it on my line. I need to be in the middle. Yep, okay. I need to wipe that off just in case I need it for squeeze out. You could glue these one at a time. Just like so. This is me being serious. Don't want any excess glue coming down on our bow transom there. So, I also want to check and make sure that that knee is in the right place, and that knee is not in the right place. All right, I'm gonna put the rubber band on it here to hold those down. I need a little sliver of wood to go right here because there's a space Trim that down just a little bit. Okay. I may make a filler for underneath that knee, because that knee is not going to engage the knee. You can see there how it's not level. The reason why I'm putting a filler there, I'm going to put this little piece on that broke off my tree or whatever you. Oh, I didn't need to do that, but anyway, I did. We'll put this on over top. Now I'm going to try to clamp this, making sure that we're still together right there. I probably should hold it right about there. I need to pull that knee up. Otherwise, it's going to dry at the wrong angle. Okay, you can see what I've got going on there. I need to readjust my clamp a little bit, but we want that knee to be against the floor planks, or the bottom planks there. So I'm going to readjust that. I'm also going to put a rubber band here where my hand is. Probably easier to do that off camera, but that's the idea. Okay, so I got me a rubber band here on our first support for our building jig here, a building board. We're clamped up here, and I did add a block of wood there because the corners of the, I don't know if you can see it or not, of our planks right there on the very end were not quite aligned. One of them was just kind of tilted up just a little bit. So really want those to be flush when our glue dries. And everything in place here. All right, so we're going to set this aside, let that dry, give it about 20 minutes. And I am going to go back to doing our little rabbet or recess here on our garboard planks. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that now. This is one of those things that you can do while you're waiting for other things, such as water drying and glue drying and stuff like that. So I'm going to get these all taken care of. So I have our rabbets cut. Now, one thing I will say is that it's probably a good idea to kind of lap these over one another into the rabbets, just to check to make sure that when they're fully engaged in the rabbets, they are the same, right? The same height on the garboard planks. Otherwise, when we install them on the boat, then they're not going to align from the starboard to port side. So we do need to keep that in mind, that they should be the same. And so this is just my way of gauging whether or not I have the stern and the bow ends at the same height and roughly the same depth. So while I was doing that, this was drying, and hopefully I didn't glue that in. So that is set at the right angle. So I'm kind of happy with that. We'll come back to that part right there. I think it's an area of concern. All right, so here on the stern, I do have it taped in so that it can't wiggle back and forth. Now, when we put these together here, we need to make sure that this angle is correct. So when we glue these planks down onto the stern, we want to make sure that we take us a little piece of wood and clamp that knee. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clamp the knee to get the right angle. If you maybe I can get close to the camera so you can see what I'm talking about here. So you got the planks there, but the knee is down below the plank. Well, our center plank, keel plank, has to rest right on that knee. So it's very important that that knee is at the same level as these two bottom planks. I know, clear as mud, right? So that's what I'm going to attempt to do here. Hopefully my glue hasn't dried up. I have lost my toothpick somewhere in the foray. Problem, you know, really, just a suggestion. I mean, I'm going to clamp it, but probably the best thing to do would be to make a crutch to go up underneath it there. You know what? Let's do that. Let's do that. Let me find some wood to make something out of here. So these frets are be useful for something here. So I mean, here is what I'm thinking. If I can get this together here. That's going to be too short. Is it going to be too short? Yeah, it's going to be too short. I'm going to have to find something else. I thought for sure that would be long enough. But back to the search. Okay, so I've got us a crutch in there holding this up. So when we glue this down, the angle should be right. And we can make an adjustment before the glue dries or catches. So we're probably just going to do both these in a go here. I'll put some glue in there. All the way out to the, kind of to the edge there. You probably can't see what I'm doing, but it's okay if you can't see and I don't know, so we'll put our plank right into place here, making sure that we're all the way down against our building board bracket. And now I've got to get our rubber band up into place, making sure that we're all the way in our notch, seated there nicely. I think we're good. Probably wouldn't hurt to kind of come over a little bit with our rubber band. Okay, so that little knee there is holding our, well, the little crutch is holding our knee. If you got a bad knee, you need a crutch, right? So there we go. Anyway, it should touch the, whoops. Not quite, but almost. It almost touches. I'll make a small adjustment there. That's too big of an adjustment. Pull the knee back just a little bit there. Okay, that's good. Show you what we got going on there. You see that the knee touches this little piece of wood here going from our left and right bottom planks there. So we don't need to touch it anymore. We need to leave it alone. Well, maybe we do need to touch it a little bit. The reason why I say that is because this plank is not set fully on our building board. And we do want it to we do want it to do that. This is where that third arm would be nice again. There we go. Don't want it to twist on us, but I think we're in good shape. We're in full contact of our support there on both sides. Double check our knee is still in place here. I think we're going to be fine. Okay. So we're going to leave this alone and let it dry. Okay, so I've given these plenty of time to dry. So I did cut a little piece here to extend that knee down, and I glued that in. So what we're now what we're going to do is we're going to pull off these rubber bands here. I do need to get this one completely off here. There we go. We'll take this one off. And let's see. All right. We need to figure out our center plank. And I think the best thing to do is to line it up maybe I'll put the rubber band on it there to hold it down. I need to know where it's at. I am going to measure it here. It's about right. Need to move it over just a tad. That's another, oops, that was too much. I want it in the center. That looks good. And then here, That looks good too. Let's grab our pencil here. There's a line here. When we go to glue this on, we need to be able to return it back. So I want to see exactly how much we've got overlap there. It's about 2 mils. Yeah, so that looks like 2 mils pretty much. So in the instructions, they want us to put this on and only glue up to the first frame there on our building jig. So we have to have a good consistent measurement there. Otherwise, things could get a little dicey. Eight and a half. 8.5. I'm just pressing just enough on the pencil there to make a line. I don't want to get all crazy with it and leave an imprint in the wood, just in case our line's not right. About 8. Shy of 8. So that is not exactly in the middle. Seven and a half, almost 7.5. So yeah, I think we're going to be okay there. So as long as I can't see the line when I glue it up, I'll be all right. I hope. So we're only going to do this part here, and then when we go to glue up the rest of it, we'll do that all in one go. That's their suggestion, and I'm going to take it. So we have about 2 mils either side to actually get our clamp on. So we're going to have to clamp it I'll put a third there, and then we'll go down the other side. We will glue it. Well, we're going to need a couple more clamps because I do want to be on the opposite side here holding it down. We're just going to run our glue up to about here, just in front of this building board form there. And we'll glue this first part on. Yeah, that's the plan. And we're consistent with our lines, so that's good. All right. I think, though, there is an odd little cant right here. What am I going to do about that? I think I will take, here, let me see. Hang on a second. Yeah, we're going to cut us some pieces here. Maybe 2 will be enough. So I'm using the same thickness material. The idea is to put this on either side of our center keel plank there. And then we're going to clamp, sandwich this in between, holding it down like it needs to go. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Let me get everything set here so we'll be ready to go. I need to find a couple more clamps. So there is always the possibility that this is not going to work. I think we're going to be okay though. The only real concern is that it's going to be tough to get in and clean up the squeeze out, but we will figure that out, I guess. So we got 2 mills overlap. Which should be more than enough for our plank to take hold there. As long as I get enough glue on here. And I will have to come back and do some cleanup. We know how to clean things up. After our dory build, we did learn some lessons there. So if you have picked this kit as a first-time model of the wooden variety, I strongly suggest that you build the dory first. Because the lessons you will learn there are going to be invaluable when it comes to building this one. All right, let's get our glue out of the way here. So we're going to set our plank. Get it in between our lines. We'll put the rubber band down on this end. We're inside our lines, so we should be able to get everything clamped. clamp left, clamp right, like so. I think I'll clamp back here next, just to make sure that we are down. I can barely see my lines left and right, so we should be good. So that should grab fairly quick. So I'm going to have to kind of step it up here. Clean up our squeeze out that I can see here. Then we'll shift our clamps, get underneath where the clamps are. And this glue does set up pretty quick, so. Yeah, there's glue hiding there. Get that out of there. A little bit there. The more cleanup we do before the glue sets up, the better off we're going to be in the long run. So I am going to put these little filler pieces in right here. I don't want them glued. I just want them to kind of help us here. Keep everything. If I can get this clamp in. So the reason why I'm doing this right here is to force these planks into a flatter trajectory there. Okay. So that's just hardwood, craft wood. Pick the straightest pieces I could find. I'm kind of worried about the cant that I've got going on there. Maybe I need to get that out of my way for a second. Okay, so we're on. Maybe just for extra support, I may throw a rubber band on the back here. Well, I could just use this rubber band back here. Now I've left my little crutch. I left that crutch in place there. So it looks pretty good. So we're going to set this aside and just let this dry. All right, so I've given it about 20 minutes. I did put a rubber band in right there. So I'm going to leave these two clamps on right here. I'm going to take these. We're going to be needing these as we go down the boat. Probably going to have to grab some more clamps, but it's time to go ahead and get the rest of this keel plank in place. I'm just checking to make sure that I haven't overlapped something that I wasn't supposed to. All right. So I cut some more of these craft sticks, and this is a hardwood. I don't know what kind it is, but it is hard. So we're going to put 2 more of these clamping fixtures into place. Which reminds me, we need a little bit more spacers here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. A little one left over there. We'll drop that in a bucket over here. May need this stuff later. So, all right, I think for me to start gluing, I need to kind of spread that a little bit. Got our glue ready. And just gonna glue it up. Make sure you use enough glue. Not too much, but just enough. Now I did clean up the glue up forward from the underside. Which was a trick. I'll show you how I did that later. Probably be easier to put it on the underside of the board, the plank, than where I am putting it. So squeeze out means that you've got enough glue. Just be sure that you don't glue it to those building board supports because they're not staying. They are going to be, once we pull the boat off of the building board, they're supposed to stay on the building board, so hopefully that's what happens. I don't know why I'm reaching over top. So I am going to put a little bit of some glue on our knee. Make sure I put it on the transom on the very back there too. And I know you guys probably can't see what I'm doing. I can barely see what I'm doing. So I stuck that piece of wood in there to hold it up so that it will not fall back down and get in the way of me adding the glue. I think I got enough glue out to do this. Yeah, we should be fine. This is a really strong glue, this yellow wood glue, so I'm not really concerned about it. Except if I run out. That'll kind of hamper things a little bit. Okay, so we're ready to go. So when it's go time, get my toothpick ready there. Just like so. I probably should put a couple of dabs right there where I had that support. Just enough. Okay. We'll start clamping up here, making sure that I am in line there. I'm going to be moving back. And I'm not clamping down on this end towards the stern yet because I need to pull the slack this way if there is any. That way we don't have a buckle up here somewhere. I need more clamps. So they only give us 6. I did buy some more. Believe it or not, I found them at Wally World, and they're exactly like the ones that we got in our kit when we purchased it. So there we go. It looks good. So now we need to start doing some cleanup. So rather than you watch me scrape glue off, I am just going to continue doing this, cleaning this up. Now I do have to do the inside as well. And for that, I will use this pick, stainless steel pick. And I will be able to get, I'll just show you real quick here. You may be able to see the glue on the inside there. So I need to scrape that out too, all the way back along that keel plank towards the stern. And I will move these clamps one at a time and get the squeeze out underneath them as well. And I will also put some stiffeners, just like we did up forward, so that everything, when it dries, will be, well, hopefully spaced out and dry. We'll look at the final clamping solution once I get everything cleaned up. Okay, that's my final clamping solution. You can see that I got the spacer blocks and the sandwiching planks there in 3 different places there, trying to hold everything down exactly where it's supposed to be. Now they say that this may want to spring up, and I am getting a little bit of spring action right here over our center. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I don't think there's a lot I can do. Good news is it's springing up at the same rate. So, yeah, I guess we just need to let that dry. So, after letting everything dry here, I guess we have our moment of truth coming up. So, time to remove the clamps and all of our little pieces here. Now we're going to save these for later. We may need them again. Pull everything off. Get all of our clamps off here. Hopefully everything will stay where it's supposed to be. All right, so I don't think we need our little crutch anymore. We'll just pull that out. Take this rubber band off too. So that we can get an idea of where everything is sitting, where we're at. Just checking my glue up there on the inside. Looks like we got quite a bit of it. Might be some things that we need to attend to when we take the boat off the building board, but I do see some cleanup there that we probably need to do. We'll look at our plans and see. If you can't see it once the boat's finished, we may not even mess with it there. Looks good. All right, so I'm going to clean my bench up, and then we can get to taking care of these ends here. Okay, we're all tidied up here, getting ready to take care of the ends here. So we do need to sand the bow end in, and there's not very much there to cut, so I would just sand that. But when it comes to our stern transom here, we've got quite a bit of material there. That'll take a while to actually sand. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Tamiya saw here. But I don't want to cut into the transom. So I am going to use, this is the same thickness plank. This came out of the same fret as our planks did on the bottom here. So I am going to use this as a guide for our saw blade. I'm trying to figure out if I'm right-handed or left. So we're going to start it like so. I do want to be careful. I don't want to be marring up the bottom of the upper transom there. So I do need to be careful when I'm doing this. And I also need to be careful that I'm not breaking it loose, the planks that is, not breaking those loose from our transom. As I go here and get me a little bit of a angle going, I can just saw these off here. Short strokes because I don't want to be poking the upper transom there and making ugly marks that we'd have to fix later. This being a painted hull, it's not that big of a deal having to use filler or anything like that. We do want to keep from having to fill anything or fixing splits or any of that. So I'm just going to carefully trim this off. Okay, we're going to do this carefully and slowly. Usually the two go together. If you're going quick, you may not be that careful. Of course, I mean, I could do it at a different angle and it would be easier for me, but you wouldn't see what I'm doing. So that's what we're getting at right there. So we're getting it down to something that we can sand in a reasonable amount of time. And we do need to trim these off because when we go to put our garboard planks on, we need to be able to judge where everything is at. So we don't need all this excess hanging over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off, and then I'll sand in the bottom planks here on our bow transom. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so I did get it sanded down here at our bow transom. Nice and smooth there, and we are meeting the transom and the angle there. Same thing here on the stern transom. Looks good. However, we do have a little bit of an issue. Big surprise, right? And that's going to be this angle back here. Looking at the way these are supposed to go together in our instructions, the little rabbet that we have cut and how they're supposed to engage the previous planks. So we are right here. This is where we're looking, right there. How that overlap is supposed to be. These are the little rabbets that we cut. This is the garboard plank right there. Bottom plank, garboard plank. Yeah. If we look on the model, I think I got the right one. Yeah. Okay. We are not going to meet up. Not even close. So I got to figure that out. I mean, obviously we're going to have to remove some on the transom here and get our garboard plank to engage like it's supposed to. And got to do it on both sides, of course. Same thing when we come up to the bow transom. We are not there. If I'm in the camera frame. Yeah, we're not there. So we got to get those angles right, which will have to be in the next video. So that's more work than I had anticipated. So, but yeah, we're going to have to fix that angle on the transoms and get that depth right so that our garboard planks are going to actually meet up to the bottom planks. And looking at the instructions, it doesn't really tell us. It talks a little bit here. It says, a little preparation is required. Use a sanding stick to lightly refine the beveled edges of the bottom planks so that they match the angles on the molds and transoms. So that's right on step 9, which is the garboard planks, which is the planks that we've already prepared. So it's just one little sentence that mentions that you need to modify that. And that's quite a bit of modification. So, yeah. It's going to be fun. So, we'll get that in the next video. Special thanks to all my subscribers. It's because of you guys that I keep making these videos, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. Sorry that this video is so long, but I do hope that you enjoyed it. And we're just kind of working through all the little problems and stuff that we're running into as we're building our pram, and making these adjustments as we go. Trying to keep from making any huge mistakes or anything. So, but I think we got a real solid build going, so we should be in good shape. Oh, and if you're new to the channel and not a subscriber, I hope today I earned your subscription. So leave me a comment if you'd like. I like hearing from you. So until I see you again in our next video, stay safe.